Welcome to the Deep Dive, where we plunge into the heart of crucial global issues, extracting the insights you need to stay truly informed. Today, we're navigating the vast, often turbulent waters of our oceans. These are incredible ecosystems, vital arteries for global trade, and unfortunately, landscapes increasingly threatened. We're talking everything from insidious piracy and illicit trade to devastating environmental disasters. It's a complex global challenge, really, and it demands synchronized efforts on, well, an unprecedented scale. Now, as we unpack this, we're focusing on a real-time, crucial gathering, one designed to make our shared seas safer, more secure. We're diving into the inaugural workshop of Working Group 3, or WG3, of the Djibouti Code of Conduct, enhanced by the Jeddah Amendment, often called DCoC. And this isn't just, a routine meeting. It feels like a foundational step towards concrete action on the water. Our mission today, to cut through the complexity, pull out the vital nuggets of knowledge from the workshop's foundational documents. We want to help you understand why this initiative is so significant for international maritime cooperation and what it truly means for the stability of our oceans.
Exactly, and we're talking about a very specific moment here. Our insights are coming from key documents, particularly the official read-ahead paper for this inaugural workshop. It's happening September 1st, 2025 in Mombasa, Kenya, so very current. And it really represents a deliberate, focused effort to operationalize a vital regional agreement that's, well, been years in the making.
Okay, so let's start with the big picture then. Why do we need a DCoC in the first place?
Right.
And maybe more importantly for today, why is this new Working Group 3 so critical right now? What were the driving forces?
Well, at its core, the DCoC is the region's collaborative framework. It was specifically designed to counter piracy initially, but it's broadened now. It covers a whole range of maritime crimes across the Western Indian Ocean and the Gulf of Aden, a huge area. What's really insightful about its approach, I think, is that it demands a whole-of-government approach. That's the key phrase.
Whole of government.
Yeah.
Not just the Navy.
Precisely. It isn't just about big navies patrolling. It's about weaving together every thread of a nation's capacity. We're talking coastal police, environmental agencies, justice departments, even trade ministries. Everyone has a role. It's a far more resilient strategy, you see, than traditional siloed military responses, because it acknowledges that maritime security isn't just a military problem, it's societal. It impacts trade, safety, the environment, everything.
That integration of civilian and military capabilities sounds crucial. Okay, so if DCoC is the overarching framework, where does WG3 fit in? I gather it was formally created by Resolution 1 of the 7th High-Level Meeting on DCoC implementation. That was in Dar es Salaam, late 2024.
That's right, November 28th to 30th, 2024.
So how is this working group different? You hear terms like operational muscle. Is that accurate? Is it about bringing navies, coast guards, law enforcement together for actual joint action at sea?
You've hit it exactly. That's its unique role.
Yeah.
While the DCoC has other working groups, WG1 on information sharing, WG2 on capacity building WG3 is specifically tasked with operational cooperation and coordination. The resolution from that Dar es Salaam meeting gave this first WG3 workshop a very clear, immediate agenda.
Which was?
Elect a chair and co-chair, get the leadership in place, and then, crucially, develop comprehensive terms of reference, the TOR, and a work plan. What's fascinating here is how deliberate and structured this approach is. They're not just jumping into operations unprepared. They're meticulously laying the groundwork first. Establishing the common doctrine, the command and control, the coordination mechanisms. It's really about building a robust operational architecture, something that can actually translate good intentions into effective action on the water.
Okay, building the architecture. But architecture needs a purpose, right?
Yeah.
So what does this mean in practical terms for operations? What exactly is WG3's official mandate? What's its scope?
Its official mandate is very clear. Operational cooperation and coordination at sea. And the aim is equally clear. To enable safe, efficient, and effective multi-agency operations at sea. So, think about it practically. A fishing trawler in distress far offshore, maybe a suspected smuggling vessel spotted. WG3's role is to make sure the response isn't chaos, competing jurisdictions clashing, but rather a seamless, coordinated effort.
So coordinating responses to real-world incidents.
Yes, and the scope is broad. It covers defense, maritime law enforcement, search and rescue, SAR disaster response, even crucial environmental protection efforts. It's about presenting a unified front for comprehensive safety and security, addressing threats that, let's face it, don't care about national borders.
That sounds like a massive undertaking. And you mentioned multi-agency. But this isn't just military folks talking to each other, is it? Who are all the different communities actually sitting around this table in Mombasa? The sources suggest it's quite diverse.
You're absolutely right. It's diverse. The documents list the participating communities.
Mm.
We're talking navies, yes, but also coast guards, other maritime law enforcement bodies, and crucially, representatives from the commercial shipping industry, the people actually using these sea lanes daily.
This seems vital, getting their input.
It is. And then you have relevant civilian authorities, think justice, port authorities, environmental agencies. They're often overlooked but essential for the legal side, the logistics. 20 DCoC signatory states are involved, plus the Friends of DCoC.
And who are they?
That's an observer and partner community. It includes significant players like the European Union, for instance, and the call for nominations specifically requested people from naval, law enforcement, and civilian authorities. They wanted that holistic representation from the start. Because really, if you connect it to the bigger picture, this broad representation is absolutely key. Maritime threats aren't siloed, so the response can't be either. Everyone needs to be working together.
Okay, so a broad group of people. How do they actually work together? Is there an infrastructure supporting this?
Yes, and that's critical. There's an enabling infrastructure already partly in place. The Region's Information Sharing Network, the ISN. This includes National Maritime Information Sharing Centers, NMICs, at the country level. Think of them as national intel hubs. Then you have regional hubs, like the RCOC in Seychelles. That's a key regional intel fusion center. The RMIFC in Madagascar for broader maritime security, and REMIM-ISC in Aden, focusing on Yemeni waters.
So information flows from national centers to regional ones.
Exactly. And these regional hubs then interface with international partners. Think RECAP, that's the big anti-piracy cooperation body in Asia, and the IFC-IOR, an info fusion center for the wider Indian Ocean region. It creates this web of shared intelligence. The goal is getting information flowing efficiently to the people who actually need it for operations.
That sounds like a solid foundation for sharing info. But honestly, getting so many different agencies, different nations, to truly operate together effectively, that sounds incredibly complex. Different equipment, different procedures, different languages even. How will WG3 actually operationalize these goals? What are the practical building blocks they're putting in place?
That's the core challenge, isn't it? The read-ahead paper is quite specific on this. It lays out 6 practical principles and enablers for effective multinational ops. First, communication and SOPs standard operating procedures. This means using and, importantly, further developing standardized DCoC ISN SOPs. So when an incident happens, everyone is basically reading from the same playbooks, speaking the same operational language. It cuts down confusion, speeds things up.
Makes sense. Common procedures. What else?
Second, interoperability. This is huge. It's about making sure systems are compatible. Radars, comms gear, coordination software. And ensuring the NMISCs across the region can actually connect seamlessly, like making sure different phone brands can call each other, Without that, joint ops just break down.
Okay, compatible tech and common procedures. Number 3.
Third is clear command and control, or C2. This means establishing defined leadership roles, crystal clear responsibilities, and agreed-upon decision-making processes for joint or combined operations. In a tense situation at sea, any ambiguity about who's in charge or who makes the call, well, that could be catastrophic.
Absolutely. Clarity is key.
Fourth, training and exercises. You really can't overstate the importance of regular joint drills. Counter-piracy, SAR, disaster response. These exercises build what the document calls habits of cooperation. It's not just theory. We've seen it in past events, say a major oil spill or a vessel in distress. The nations whose teams have trained together, whose people know each other, they respond faster and way more effectively.
Building muscle memory, essentially.
Precisely. Fifth is robust legal frameworks. This is about aligning everything with international law, especially UNCLS, the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, and also relevant regional agreements like the DCoC itself, the MASC program for capacity building, the SSAU regional architecture, which offers support. These legal frameworks, like the operating system, right? Without this clear, shared legal software, every arrest, every bit of evidence collected at sea, it could just fall apart later in court. Makes the whole effort potentially useless.
Right, the legal side underpins everything. And the last one.
And finally, sixth is technology integration, leveraging modern tools. AIS for tracking ships, satellite and drone surveillance, integrated platforms for shared maritime domain awareness. It's about seeing what's happening out there, getting real-time intelligence to the operators on the ships or on shore.
Wow. Okay, it really is those granular details, isn't it? That's what turns the high-level talk into something that actually works on the water. That legal framework point especially seems critical, connecting the action at sea to actual justice.
Absolutely. Effective, legitimate action at sea depends entirely on these interconnected systems and that shared understanding, all backed by clear legal mandates. It's the difference between a successful intervention and, well, a complicated mess, potentially illegal or ultimately just fruitless.
Okay, so with these foundational principles being laid out, what are the immediate hands-on challenges WG3 is supposed to tackle first? What specific mission areas are they prioritizing for these new operational collaborations?
The read-ahead paper outlines several initial work streams. These are the immediate focus areas for WG3. First, multinational naval operations. This means structured coordination with existing coalition task forces, like those already operating in the region, to protect trade routes and counter piracy and armed robbery. Then there's SAR cooperation, improving how countries mobilize ships, aircraft, rescue assets across borders and between agencies. Distress calls don't respect boundaries, so speed and coordination save lives. A really critical area is surveillance and intelligence sharing, strengthening those ISAN processes we talked about. The goal is to feed actionable intel directly to the operators at sea, turning raw data into something a commander can use to make a decision now.
Okay, naval ops, SAR, better intel sharing. What else?
They're also prioritizing maritime patrols and interdiction, developing joint or maybe coordinated patrol concepts, targeting things like illegal, unreported, and unregulated IUU fishing. That's a huge problem, devastates local economies and ecosystems. Also smuggling people, arms, drugs, and just wider maritime crime in general. Another key area, environmental protection at sea, coordinating pollution response, maybe running regional MARPOL exercises, that's the Convention on Preventing Pollution from Ships. And finally, military-civilian coordination. This is about enabling things like humanitarian assistance during disasters or protecting commercial shipping during crises. Often needs a very different approach than pure security ops.
That is an incredibly comprehensive list. It covers so much, from hard security to humanitarian and environmental issues. But let's shift to something you touched on earlier, something often overlooked but critical for law enforcement. What happens after an interdiction? How do you make sure justice is actually served? That criminals don't just get caught and then let go. This is the legal finish, right?
Yeah.
Sounds like where the whole effort could succeed or fail.
You've put your finger right on it. The legal finish is absolutely pivotal. Without effective prosecution, the best interdiction at sea can be undermined. You end up with catch and release, where suspects are let go due to legal hurdles, lack of jurisdiction, evidence issues. It's a huge frustration. So building on decisions from that 2024 high-level meeting, the Mombasa workshop is expected to really cement 4 practical ways to cooperate with international naval forces to achieve this legal finish.
Okay, what are those 4 ways?
First, upgrading national legal frameworks. Specifically, Articles 3.1 and 15 of the DCoC. These deal with things like hot pursuit and transferring suspects for prosecution. The aim is to close legislative gaps, to genuinely enable prosecutions and really reduce that catch-and-release problem.
So fixing the laws back home.
Exactly. Second, it's about practical arrangements like allowing national officers or law enforcement detachment shipwriters to embark on international platforms. This is key. It gives national legal authority to actions taken in international waters by that international ship. It also shows domestic investment, builds trust, shares expertise.
Makes sense. National authority on an international ship.
Third, targeted capacity building and training, making sure personnel, police, prosecutors, judges have the skills they need. Skills for interdiction, for gathering evidence that will actually stand up in court, for navigating the legal processes. This has to align with the DCoC capacity building matrix they already have.
Training the people involved.
Right. And fourth, providing actionable information. This could be things like pattern of life data intelligence showing normal versus suspicious vessel behavior, or providing clear details on national legal requirements before an operation happens. Getting this info, either directly or via the ISN, to the commanders at sea is crucial. It ensures any action taken is legally sound and intelligence-driven from the start. And the goal here is tangible. The documents explicitly mention reducing catch and release as a key measure of success. Without that robust legal finish, the deterrent effect is lost.
That really drives home how interconnected this all is.
Yeah.
From the intel to the ship stopping another vessel, right through to the courtroom. Every link matters.
Okay, this all sounds incredibly ambitious and frankly very necessary. So let's bring it back to Mombasa right now. What specifically must this inaugural workshop deliver to actually kickstart these vital operations? What are the make or break outcomes? The Mombasa workshop has very clear critical deliverables on its plate. First, it has to officially constitute the group. That means electing its chair and co-chair, giving WG3 its formal leadership. Second, and this is huge, it needs to agree upon the terms of reference and a multi-year work plan. This work plan is the blueprint. It'll cover future joint exercises, how they'll evolve those SOPs, refine information flows, and importantly, map out the detailed legal and procedural pathways for actual interdictions and prosecutions. This is where the rubber meets the road, defining how they'll work together day to day.
So leadership and the actual plan of action.
Exactly. And finally, a key deliverable is ensuring synchronization with WG1, information sharing, and WG2, capacity building. They have to make sure WG3's operations are fully backed up by good data from WG1 and the right training and resources from WG2. They're all pieces of the same puzzle. Their efforts have to align perfectly.
Right, they can't operate in silos. So why Mombasa specifically for this kickoff? Does the location itself offer any advantages?
Holding it in Mombasa is quite strategic. It leverages Kenya's status as a major regional maritime hub. They have a deep history with port operations, maritime activity. It also ties in perfectly with Kenya's own ongoing efforts, supported by the IMO, the International Maritime Organization, to stand up its own National Maritime Information Sharing Center, its NMISC. In fact, there was an IMO workshop focused on that NMISC roadmap right there in Mombasa just weeks before, end of July 2025.
So there's local momentum already.
Precisely. That national-level progress provides a really solid anchor for WG3's operationalization. It aligns national efforts with the regional goals and shows strong local commitment.
Okay, so assuming Mombasa is successful, the leadership is chosen, the tour and work plan are agreed. What's next? What's on the horizon after this?
Well, the outputs from Mombasa, the new leadership, the agreed tour, that first set of operational tasks in the work plan, they aren't just filed away. They're expected to feed directly into the agenda and ultimately the decisions of the 8th high-level meeting. That meeting is scheduled pretty soon after, November 12th to 14th, 2025, and it's happening in Mauritius. It really highlights the continuous cycle here. Mombasa is a critical launch pad, but it's part of an ongoing process of international cooperation.
Right, it feeds into the next big strategic meeting. So wrapping this up, what does this all really mean for you listening and for the bigger picture of securing our seas? We've covered a lot.
Yeah, we have. I think the core takeaways from the source material are pretty clear. First, WG3 is definitely the operational muscle of the DCoC. It's the group meant to turn planning into coordinated action at sea. Second, that 2024 meeting in Dar es Salaam set the mandate, but this 2025 Mombasa workshop is where they're building the crucial mechanism: the leadership, the rules of engagement on the tour, and the actual work plan. Third, real success is going to hinge on those practical things: interoperability, clear C2, regular drills, and absolutely critically, getting that legal finish right to avoid catch and release. And finally, this isn't happening in isolation. It has to work hand in glove with WG1 on intel and WG2 on training, and rely on ongoing collaboration with international navies and that whole information sharing network.
And maybe the crucial insight here is that while we often focus on the big headlines, the geopolitical shifts, it's these often invisible, detailed efforts building trust, standardizing procedures like they're doing in Mombasa that quietly underpin so much. They're the silent guardians of global trade, safety at sea, even environmental protection, far away from the usual spotlight. So maybe something to think about. How might strengthening these kinds of regional maritime partnerships, these blueprints for cooperation, influence how we tackle other complex global challenges, things like climate change or public health crises that also demand intense cross-border teamwork? How might these lessons translate? That's all for this deep dive. We invite you to continue exploring the interconnected world of international cooperation with us next time.